Welcome back to the story of Nehemiah, part 2, the builders of the wall. By the way, Janine is putting up in Kaleidoscope, and she'll give you the details, where I'm discussing the books of Isaiah, verse by verse, the books of Jeremiah, verse by verse, and then eventually the book of, and this is so marvelous, the last of the 3 great books. May God bless you as you study the Word, the book of Ezekiel, as you study the Word and listen to the voice of God speaking through these prophets. Let's continue with part 2. My journey to Jerusalem was accomplished in safety. Our journeys are not always done in safety, but this one was. The royal letters to the governors of the provinces along my route secured me honorable reception and prompt assistance. Here's the documents. No enemy dared molest me. I, the official who was guarded by the power of the Persian king, and governors of the province treated me with exceptional consideration. A dream came true, a dream concerning the plight of others. And if we have this kind of unselfish dream, we'll have a safe journey. My arrival in Jerusalem, however, with a military escort, can you see those soldiers? Showing that I'd come on some important mission, excited the jealousy of the heathen tribes living near the city. Wow, they saw this. Who by inflicting harm and insult on the Jews had so frequently gratified their animosity for us, the Jews. And now, there's another picture. This is not an ordinary Jew. This is a Jew elected by the mighty Persian king to help the Jews. Foremost in this evil work were certain chiefs of these tribes, Sanballat, the Horonite, and Tobiah, the Ammonite, and Geshem, the Arabian. From the first, these leaders watched my movements with critical eyes and tried by every means in their power to thwart my plans and hinder my work. Has this happened to you? People trying to hinder your work? Especially if it's for others? But I continue to exercise the same caution and prudence that so far marked my course, knowing that bitter and determined enemies stood ready to oppose me. I concealed the nature of my mission from them until a study of the situation should enable me to form my plans. He was a bit cautious to reveal all his plans. And sometimes we should also be cautious. Don't reveal all your plans. Take time. I hope to secure the cooperation of the people and set them at work before the opposition of my enemies should be aroused. Choosing men whom I knew to be worthy of confidence. If you select friends, get those who are worthy of confidence. I told them of the circumstances that had led me to come to Jerusalem. They heard the entire story, how he prayed, the object I wished to accomplish, and the plans I proposed to follow. Their interest in my understanding was at once enlisted and their assistance secured. On the 3rd night after my arrival, I rose at midnight with a few trusted companions who went out to view for myself the desolation of Jerusalem. Can you see them in the darkness? No cell phone lights. I wonder how maybe it was a moonlight evening. Mounted on my mule, I passed from one part of the city to another, surveying the broken down walls and gates of the city of my fathers. Can you imagine his heartache if he saw the city in ruins? painful reflections filled my mind with sorrow-stricken pain as I gazed upon the ruined defenses of my beloved city, Jerusalem. Memories of Israel's past greatness stood out in sharp contrast with the evidence of her humiliation. These things went through my mind and I was crying. In secrecy and silence, I completed my circuit of the walls. The rulers knew not where I went or what I did, neither had I yet told it to the Jews, nor to the priests, nor to the nobles, nor to the rulers, nor to the rest that did the work. The remainder of the night I spent in prayer. Have you ever prayed right through the night? For I knew that the morning would call for earnest effort to arouse and unite my dispirited and divided countrymen. I bore a royal commission requiring the inhabitants to cooperate with me in rebuilding the walls of the city, but I did not depend upon the exercise of my authority. You can do something from an authoritative position, or you can delete it and just be humble. I sought rather to gain the confidence and sympathy of the people. Confidence, sympathy. Knowing that a union of hearts as well as of hands was essential in the great work before me. Hearts and hands go together. When on the morrow I called the people together, I presented such arguments as were calculated to arouse their dormant energies and unite their scattered numbers. It was because of a night spent in prayer. My hearers did not know, neither did I tell them, of my midnight circuit in the night before. But the fact that I had made this circuit contributed greatly to my success, for I was able to speak of the condition of the city with extremely great accuracy and the minuteness that astonished my hearers. The impression made upon me as I looked upon the weakness and degradation of Jerusalem gave earnestness and power to my words. He did not lord over the people. He was looking for their hearts and their hands. A lesson for us to learn. Combine the hearts and hands of people and you'll be successful. I made the people aware of the disrespect shown to our God and the embarrassment their faith caused among the pagan population. I told them that in a distant land I'd heard of their affliction, that I'd entreated the favor of heaven in their behalf, and that as I was praying, I had determined to ask permission from the king to come to their assistance. This is a wonderful approach. I'm not here as a governor. Do what I tell you. He told them how he agonized and the miracle that ensued. I'd asked God that the king might not only grant this permission, but that he might also invest me with the authority to give me the help needed for the work. My prayer had been answered in such a way as to show that the plan was of the Lord. So, dear people, he said, this plan is from God. We're going to rebuild Jerusalem. I need your hearts. I need your hands. All this I related, and then, having shown that I was sustained by the combined authority of the God of Israel and the mighty Persian king, I asked the people directly whether they would take advantage of this opportunity and arise and build the wall. Note, he didn't tell them, go and build the wall. No. I ask them. Ask people to help you. It's better to ask than to dictate. There are ways to communicate. The appeal went straight to their hearts. Straight to their hearts. If you appeal, you'll reach the hearts of people. The thought of how heaven's favor had been manifested toward them put their fears to shame. And with new courage they said with one voice, let us rise up and build. Music to his ears, let us rise up and build. So they strengthened their hands for this good work. I love the story of Nehemiah. And my friend, we need more leaders like Nehemiah. My whole being was in the enterprise that I had undertaken. Heart and soul was in the uplifting and upbuilding of the walls. My hope, energy, enthusiasm, determination were contagious, inspiring others with the same high courage and lofty purpose. He didn't say, come, let us build the wall. Let us build the wall. He got their hearts, and their hands followed. Each man became a Nehemiah in his turn and helped to make stronger the heart and hands of his neighbor. It's contagious enthusiasm. When the enemies of Israel heard what the Jews were hoping to accomplish, they laughed them to scorn, saying, "Ha, what is this thing that ye do?" Oh, they had a good laugh. "Will ye rebel against the king?" But I answered them by saying, the God of heaven will give us success. I like this. You and I can also say this. The God of heaven will give us success. We, his servants, will start rebuilding. But as for you, you have no share in Jerusalem or any claim or historic right to it. God of heaven and the king of Persia. What a combination. Among the first to catch my spirit of zeal and earnestness were the priests. And I needed this. Because of their willing participation from the start, these men had a lot of control over the project and could have a significant impact on its success or on its failure. We need people to support us in our dreams. Invite them. Telling, there's somebody down the street. They're in trouble. Let's take them some food. It's wonderful to have this kind of enterprise, to uplift people. Most of the princes and rulers of Israel came up nobly to their duty. And these faithful men have honorable mention in the book of God. You support the God of heaven and support poor people, not only monetary poor, but poor in spirit. Your name is mentioned honorable in the book of God. Get your name there. There were a few, the Tekoites, nobles, who put not their necks to the work of their Lord. The memory of these slothful servants is branded with shame and has been handed down as a warning to all future generations. I've been to Tekoa a few times. You can see some of my YouTubes that I did on Tekoa. And every time I visit there, I think of their forefathers. No, we're not going to build. God wants people who's willing to build. This is my only child, Loretta. Loretta here at Ancient Tekoa. She's a keen builder for God. And she gave me more than 30 supports in my many, many, many visits to the ancient civilizations. Thank you, Loretta, for helping Dad. In every religious movement, there are some who, while they cannot deny that the cause is God's, still hold themselves aloof. It were well for such ones to remember the record kept on high, that book in which there are no omissions, no mistakes, and out of which they will be judged, you and I. Let us be kind to people. This is our greatest mission. Reveal something to God. They don't read their Bible, they don't believe in Him, but let them see our acts of unselfishness and get a glimpse of God's wonderful love. And there in heaven, every neglected opportunity to do service for God is recorded. If you have the opportunity to help somebody, do it. And there too, every deed of faith and love is held in everlasting remembrance. Oh, my friend, may God help us. So easy to hate, so easy to be envious. But it takes prayer to get the victory over these things. It's not about you, it's not about me. It's about people who need me in certain circumstances. This is joy. Selfishness is destructive, and selfishness is sublime. Against the inspiring influence of my presence, the example of the Tekoite nobles had little weight. Man, Nehemiah, go your way, man. The people in general were animated by patriotism and zeal. Men of ability and influence organized the various classes of citizens into companies, each leader making himself responsible for the erection of a certain part of the wall. Let people choose where they want to work. And of some it is written that they build everyone over against his house. I wish I could see a video. And I think in the channel, there will be a channel up there, we will be able to look at the history of this world and of God's people. I want you to be in that video. My energy did not abate, losing its high level, now that the work was begun. With tireless vigilance, I superintended the building, directing the workmen, noting the hindrances, and providing for emergencies. Can you see Nehemiah running around that huge wall? Okay, try this. Thank you for sweating in this work. Along the whole extent of that 5 kilometers of wall, my influence was constantly felt. If you're a boss, if you're a leader, let your influence be constantly felt. With wise words, I uplifted the lax, stirred the sleepy, and approved the diligent. Did you get this? With wise words, it is so important how we speak to people. If you speak wise words, I uplifted the lax. Don't scream at somebody lazy. Stirred the sleepy and approved the diligent. May God give us wise words as we go through life. And ever I watch the movements of our enemies, who from time to time collected at a distance and engaged in conversation, as if plotting mischief And then, drawing nearer, the workmen attempted to divert their attention. So Jeremiah had a few challenges. In my many activities, I did not forget the source of my strength. Never forget the source of your strength. It's not you, it's Him that helps you. My heart was constantly uplifted to God. As he walked among the people, his heart was lifted to God. The God of heaven, I exclaimed. He will prosper us. I love this. My words echoed and re-echoed, thrilled the hearts of all the workers on the wall. I'm repeating this again. The God of heaven, I exclaimed. He will prosper us. Do you want to work for God? Do you want to uplift people? The God of heaven will prosper you. I challenge you to live for others. But the restoration of the defenses of Jerusalem did not go forward unhindered. Remember, your project will also go not too smooth. It will be unhindered. Challenges. Satan was working to stir up opposition and bring discouragement. Maybe you've experienced this already. Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem, Satan's principal agents in this movement, now set themselves to destroy and hinder the work of rebuilding. They tried their best to cause division among the workmen. They ridiculed the efforts of the builders, declaring the enterprise an impossibility and predicted failure. These voices will always be around. Ignore them. The God of heaven, He will give us success. Just carry on. Trials, when seen as educators, will produce joy. And if you've given up, come back and start all over. What do these feeble Jews? Mocking them. Exclaimed Sanballat mockingly. Will they fortify themselves? Forget it. Will they revive the stones out of the heaps of the rubbish which are burned? Tobiah, still more contemptuous, added, even that which they built. If a fox go up, he shall even break down their stone wall. What a sad sight. Never discourage people. Help them to keep on building. The builders will soon be beset by more active opposition. They were compelled to guard continually against the plots of the adversaries. Guard continually, my friend. Don't relax. When I visited East Germany, when the wall was still there, the signs on the road from where we started in Germany to the wall said, don't stop on the road. Don't stop on the road of your dreams. Carry on till you get there. I want to read this again. They were compelled to guard continually against the plots of their adversaries, who, professing friendliness, devil is brilliant, sought in various ways to cause confusion. But that's not all. And perplexity. You know, a discouraged person can do nothing. We just sit there. And to arouse distrust, don't believe this wall will go up. Don't believe Nehemiah. They endeavored to destroy the courage of the Jews. They plotted to involve me, Nehemiah, in our labors. And they discovered that there were dishonest Jews willing to assist them in their malicious plans. The report was spread that I, Nehemiah, was plotting against the Persian monarch Artaxerxes, intending to exalt myself as a king over Israel, and that all who aided me were traitors. Bad news, destroy people. But I continued to look to God for guidance and support, and the people had a mind to work. The enterprise went forward until the gaps were filled, and the entire wall built up to half its intended height. I made some marvelous discoveries at the wall of Jerusalem. I must tell you about this one day. As the enemies of Israel saw how unavailing their efforts were, they were filled with rage. They were so cross. Up to this point in time, they had not dared employ violent measures. Not yet. For they knew that I and my companions were acting under the king's commission. This deterred them, and they really feared that active opposition against me might bring upon them the monarch's displeasure. Your enemies will not always succeed. But now in their anger, they themselves became guilty of the crime of which they had accused me, Nehemiah. After assembling for council, they conspired to come and to fight against Jerusalem. Can you realize what the builders and Nehemiah went through? Your dream will always be challenged by enemies. Your marriage will also always be challenged by enemies. But the God of heaven will give you success. While the Samaritans were plotting against me and my work, some of the leading men among the Jews, my own people, becoming disaffected, sought to discourage me by exaggerating the difficulties attending the enterprise. Your own people may discourage you. The strength of the bearers of burdens is decayed. Accusation. They said to me, and there is much rubbish, so that we are not able to build the wall. My friend, you can build the wall with God's help. I listened to this sad song. The strength of the bearers of burdens is decayed. They are collapsed, they are burned out. And there is much rubbish. Look at this. So that we are not able to build the wall. Discouragement came from still another source. So Nehemiah is going to tell us some more. The Jews, those who were taking no part in the work, people from Tekoa, gathered up to the statements and reports to create disaffection. Taunts and ridicule, opposition and threats seemed only to inspire me with firmer determination and to arouse me to greater watchfulness. I like the attitude of Nehemiah. Let opposition to your dreams encourage you and not discourage you. Just move on. Your God will sustain you. I recognize the dangers that must be met in this warfare with our enemies, but my courage was undaunted. Nehemiah decided they are not going to break his spirit. He kept on looking up to God. There will come times of discouragement, my friend. Look up. Don't look down. He will help you to succeed in your dreams. We made our prayers unto our God, and set a watch against them day and night. The more attacks, the more precautions. 4:13. Therefore I stationed some of the people behind the lowest points of the wall, at the exposed places, posting them by families with their swords and spears and bows. And I think the enemies saw this. I even set the people after their families with their swords, spears, and their bows. So they had to build. Can you imagine this? Spears, swords, bows. Laying it aside, build, grab them again if they suspect problems. After I looked things over, I stood up and said to the nobles, the officials, and the rest of the people, don't be afraid of them. And my dear friend, don't be afraid of your enemies. Remember the Lord. Sometimes we forget about him. Remember the Lord, who is great and awesome. And fight for your families, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your homes. Fight for others. When your enemies heard that we were aware of their plot and that God had frustrated it, we all returned to the wall, each to our own work. From that day on, half of my men did the work, while the other half were equipped with spears. Can you see the picture? Equipped with spears, shields, bows, and armor. The officers posted themselves behind all the people of Judah who were building the wall. They had the protection of their own soldiers. Those who carried materials did their work with one hand and held a weapon in the other. Can you see this? Here's a spear, and this is picking up bricks or whatever. Beside me stood a trumpeter. I like this. And on different parts of the wall were stationed priests, also bearing the sacred trumpets. Blow the trumpet, trusty watchman. The people were scattered in their labors, but on the approach of danger, at any point a signal was given for them to leave without delay. So we labored in the work. I said, and half of them held the spears from the rising of the morning till the stars appeared. Take the weapons of God, the spears of God, while you do your work, and trust him. The poet says, rest if you must, but never quit. Those who had been living in towns and villages outside Jerusalem were now required to lodge within the walls, both to guard the work and to be ready for duty in the morning. By doing so, unnecessary delays would be avoided. Enemy would lose the chance to attack the workers as they traveled to and from their houses. I didn't back down from hardship or difficult service, and neither did my companions. Rest if you must, but never quit. They did not remove their garments or set aside their armor during the day or night, not even during brief period allotted for sleeping. The washing machines rested. They wore the same clothes day and night to accomplish their dream. I love this story. I'm so glad for the Bible. It has so much wonderful stuff to encourage us. And I cannot wait for you to look at Kaleidoscope that Janine has put on. Three prophets. You will like it. A thought to ponder. Now, Nehemiah, just wait a while. We are going to discuss a few things. The opposition and discouragement that the builders in Nehemiah's day met from open enemies and pretended friends is typical of the experience that those today will have who work for God. Christians are tried not only by the anger, contempt, and cruelty of enemies, but by the indolence, inconsistency, lukewarmness, and treachery of avowed friends and helpers. Derision and reproach are hurled at them. Rest if you must, but never quit. There's a crown waiting for you. And the same adversary who inspires scorn employs more heinous and violent tactics when the circumstances are right. Every unsanctified element serves Satan's aims, and he makes use of them. There are people who claim to support God's cause, but align themselves with his adversaries, leaving God's cause vulnerable to the onslaught of his fiercest rivals. I'm so glad that Jesus didn't give up. He did not give up. He wanted to save us. And in that process, he died. Higher than the highest human thoughts can reach is God's ideal for his people. Godliness, godlikeness is the goal to achieve. Rest if you must, but never quit. Even those who sincerely want God's mission to succeed might weaken the hands of his servants by hearing, reporting, and partially believing the accusations, boasting, and threats made by his foes. Satan works with marvelous success through his agents, and all who yield to their influence are subject to bewitching power that destroys the wisdom of the wise and the understanding of the prudent. Rest if you must, but never quit. Make your face like a flint and move forward. Your name will be in God's book. Like Nehemiah, God's people are not to be afraid of their adversaries. They are to move forward gradually, executing God's job without regard for reward or recognition. Stay humble, my friend. Don't wait for recognition. You already received your pay, your wages, by being able to work in God's cause. And entrusting their cause to God's providence while putting their trust in him. You'll be surprised what God wants to do for you. Amidst great discouragement, Nehemiah made God his trust, his sure defense. Beautiful. And he who was the support of his servant then has been the dependence of his people in every age. The God of Nehemiah is the same God today. And if you work for him, he'll support you. In every crisis, his people may confidently declare, if God be for us, hey, who can be against us? You know, God is very big, he's very powerful. However crafty the plots of Satan and his agents may be laid, God can detect them and bring to naught all his counselors. Let God handle your enemies. Keep on building. The response of faith today will be the response made by Nehemiah. Our God shall fight for us. For God is in the work, and no man can prevent its ultimate success. Next time a rebuke against extortion. Father in heaven, help us to be like Nehemiah, a man who trusted you. And help us to be kind to people, to forgive people. And envy is ignorance. Help us to remove the enemies in our own hearts and work for you. Build your church. In Jesus' name, amen.